Hello and welcome to another iExplores. I'm your host Ian, and remember to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell that tells you when I put a new video on. Okay, on today's video we're going to take a look at Grimsby from near enough the start until till today. Okay, so let's go. Okay, I'm currently on the edge of the Wybers Wood estate, which is in that direction up there. I've come from behind over Lace Bakers, which is that way. Okay, so I've come up here on Tetney Marsh to show you what the east and west marsh would have looked like, which is like this. Lots of water. Okay, so I'm now into Wybers Wood now, the estate being over that way where I'm pointing. Now you could see why this would appeal to Vikings or Saxons or anybody settling around here because of the water course. Okay, this is said from a spring way back up there. Okay, and over there is the golf course, and there was an abbey built on there. So this water here would have been a source for them as well. The Viking settlement, which I did on a video before, is near the church, which we'll go and have a look at shortly. Okay, so I'm now at St Michael's Church on Littlecote, so I'll just turn this around. As you can see, there it is, very old church. Okay, I'm going to have a look down the side of it and I'll do some explaining when I get there. Okay, so the church you've just been looking at was St Michael's, and it was built in the 14th and 15th century. Okay, in between that time. As you can see through there, we're getting a bit closer. There we go. You see a view of it there. Now I think there's something going on around the front, so I didn't go in there. As you can see, this is all the graveyard down there, and this is at the side of the church. I'd like to have gone round it, but like I say, there's an event. So yeah, there you go. Here it is. Very old church. It's not as old as the one at Old Cleek though. That's very early. This is later. Okay, so as I was saying, in this area, this was a settlement for the Vikings. All this area around here, this way, and obviously further back up there to Till, which was a hill. Before Grimsby got its name and became a major port for fishing and other imported goods. Before the Vikings, Saxons and the medieval period onwards to today, they were a Paleolithic, the Old Stone Age, the Mesolithic, Middle Stone Age, the Neolithic, the New Stone Age. And up near the cemetery there, up Wheelsby Avenue, they did a dig and found an Iron Age settlement. Okay, in Cleethorpes Cemetery there is a Bronze Age barrow, which I have visited on a few of the videos I've done. Okay, and they said its could be dated back even earlier than that to the Neolithic in origin. Okay, on the Nunsthorpe estate, when they started building on there, they found Stone Age tools. Right, okay. The Vikings, sometime in the 9th century, came to Grimsby and was settled by Danes. The legend has it that the name of Grimsby derives from Grim, a Danish fisherman. Okay, so we've moved a bit further down the river now. As you can see, it would be quite easy to get a Viking longboat up here because the flat bottom, very easy. Okay, the BY at the end of Grimsby is Norse for village, which Grimsby was before it started to grow into a town as it is now. And it stands on the River Avon, which is in that direction there, which I've done many videos on. Okay, so let's go and have a look now where the Vikings first landed. Okay, as I mentioned further back on this video about the river being diverted, there you go. But we know it wasn't done until about the 18th century when technology moved on. Okay, so we've come up to the point now where the actual Vikings landed the very first time. Obviously coming up that way towards Corporation Bridge and coming up this beach, which is known as the Grimsby Beach. This is where they came in. Right, okay, so I'm just on the side of the Corporation Bridge there. Just going to read a little bit more. Okay, the village of Grimsby grew into a port because it stands on a river called the Avon, which flowed into the Humber. As its name suggested, it was an haven for shipping when storms approached. By the time of the Domesday Book in 1086, Grimsby had a population of 200. By the standards of the time, it was quite a large village. During the 12th century, Grimsby developed into a busy little port. Ships brought timber from Norway and wine, I like wine. The drink was for the upper classes from France, I like French wine too, and Spain. Coal was brought by sea along the coast from Newcastle in the Middle Ages. Wool as well was also brought in and exported out as well from here. Okay, so I'm now stood on the flyover. You can see all the docks area over there, the ice factory which is dilapidated, offices in there, the dock tower which I can't see, it's behind there. But yeah, they're all over here. Let's walk down here a little bit. Can't see the dock tower yet, hang on. I'll put that on a bit later, but okay. So, in 1801, Grimsby was a tiny place with a population of just 1,524. It was no bigger or perhaps slightly smaller than it was in the Middle Ages. However, it grew rapidly, and by 1831 the population of Grimsby was just over 4,000, and by 1851 it had reached 8,660, and by the end of the 19th century the population of Grimsby was 75,000. Grimsby boomed as a port in the 19th century. Iron, timber, wheat, hemp and flax were imported, and later in the 19th century coal was bought from South Yorkshire coalfields by rail and was exported. Many people passed through Grimsby on their way to America too. There you go. By 1801 the Avon was deepened. However, in the second half of the 19th century it was reclaimed and the new docks were built. The Royal Docks were built in 1852. Okay, so you can see behind me there's the dock tower. Now the dock tower was built in 1852. The Alexandra docks and the Union docks were built in 1879. The number 1 fish dock was built in 1856. The number 2 fish dock followed in 1877. And the number 3 fish dock during the 19th century. And the Grimsby fishing fleet greatly expanded. Down Cleethorpes Road. Okay, and down here was the first Grimsby District Hospital, which was built in 1877. Okay, I know this isn't, we can see up there, look, there's the old animal hospital there. That is down Railway Street now. And look at this old pole there, what used to have wires on it for the trams, I think. Okay, so let's move on. Let's come off Cleethorpes Road there. And everybody remember this one? This is Compass House. Okay, I'm now stood under the flyover. As you can see that through there, that old post, this used to be where a level crossing was. Okay, that way going onto the docks, and that way going out into Grimsby. And that's the only bit left of it. Obviously Ryby Square in that direction. Okay, so the railways reached Grimsby in 1848. The railway was largely responsible for the revival of Grimsby, since it was made far easier to transport goods from the port, which is behind me. After 1881, horse-drawn trams ran in the Grimsby streets and then later went on for electrical trams. But yeah, that's where the crossing was, and that's what's left of it, just that post there what had the gates on. Okay, so Grimsby got its first newspaper in 1871. Okay, and the paper later changed its name in 1897 to the Eastern Daily Telegraph. And in 1899, renamed again the Grimsby Telegraph, which is situated on Cleethorpes Road, which is in that building there. I think that's where the original was, not entirely sure, without looking at a map. So yeah, and it moved from there in October 2015 to the Fisherman's Wharf near the Heritage Centre. Okay, so now on Fisherman's Wharf, I'm going to show you when I was on about the Telegraph has moved to. This is the Heritage Centre through there. Okay, and it moved. When I get round there I shall show you. Okay, so the Telegraph office now is in there, Heritage House. Okay, all the amenities in Grimsby improved, like the sewerage, water, etc., gas. The amenities in Grimsby improved in the 19th century. In 1800, some streets were paved and lit by oil lamps. After 1838, gas lights were used. Okay, so behind me is St James Church. Now this has been here a long time. I think it's since the 12th century, probably earlier. And the other side of this church actually found a buried Saxon wall, But we're here to look at this. Now this is called the Market Cross. As you can see there is St James Church, okay, and there's been a church on this site since 1114, okay. Now later on in its life, the Bishop of Lincoln the following years supervised many renovations and development of the building, resulting in the St James Church continuing. A nave with 6 bays. The central tower was added in 1365, and in 1586 St James became the parish church of Grimsby, and obviously carried on to this day. Now this area, where most villages start, and they do have a church nearby, the market was in this area, thus the old marketplace, the other side of that building in front of me there, which is Wilko's. Okay, so most towns usually start from there, but we started where I'd just been. Obviously then moved inland and started here properly as a town centre, if you like. So I'm now going to go around the corner and show you where the Market Cross is. I don't know if it's been moved in its time or is, you know, in the same place. Okay, so I've now walked up to the Market Cross, which is this. Now, like I was saying, I'm not sure if it's in the same place as obviously it was originally. I couldn't really say. Maybe. But if you go in any village or towns, you will find these in the middle. Now, I've seen one of these in any place around here, like Laceby, for instance, or Louth and Lincoln. Obviously, that's a major city, but yeah, that was called a Market Cross. Okay, so I'm now on the other side of St James Church, which is behind me there. And over there is Bethlehem Street, okay? Now the reason I've come down here, and I think I've mentioned this on a previous video, I can't remember, I've do that many, but this is the site of the first town hall, okay, which was built near the church in the 13th century, followed by a second one in 1391. Now the third one was built in 1780. The one we have now, the current one, was built on a site called the 6 Acre Fields, which opened in 1863. Okay, St James Church did get bombed during the war as well. It was rebuilt. I think it was in this corner here, if I remember from looking at photos. There's a mark on the wall here, look at this. It's a mason's mark, a stonemason's. There's 1920 on it. Obviously the church has been here a lot longer than that. There's a spiral staircase in there as well. I've seen it when they've opened this door once. So we're now on Wellergate. Now I've filmed these cottages before in the past. This was a sweet shop. But these are from the Georgian era. Okay, there's a date on this somewhere, and I can't see it from here because I'm on the other side of the road. But I'll go over the other side and I'll say the date in a moment. But yeah, these have been here since the Georgian period. Yeah, the date on them is 1772, and like I said, from the Georgian period. Let's carry on. Okay, so I'm now stood in a park across the road from Ainslie Street, which is over there, and Doughty Road, which is down there. Okay, so in 1854, the water company was formed to provide pipe water to those who could afford it. Also in the 1850s, sewers were dug under Grimsby and a new town hall was built in 1863. The reason I've came in here, you mentioned sewerage works, and there was in this area. I know this area was a cemetery as well, but there was sewerage works around here, and there was a mill where the camera's looking now. Electric and the cooling, the electric power stations over there, which you can go and have a look at soon, and also the gas works, which is was off Pasture Street in that area where the camera's pointing out. We'll also cover that area as well. Okay, despite these improvements of the water, Grimsby was, like all other towns, unhealthy and unsanitary. There was an outbreak of smallpox in 1830. And in 1832, cholera killed 246 people in Grimsby. Smallpox struck again in 1871. So there was a lot of outbreak. There was an outbreak of typhoid as well in 1887. So there's been a lot of diseases and things around here, which is not surprising with the water being that bad. And that will be why there was many pubs in Grimsby, which I have covered, because as we know, to make beer or any spirits of any kind, I think, you boil the water, therefore killing the germs. So that's why there was that many pubs around Grimsby. Okay, so I'm now at the top of Doughty Road, and in front of us there, that building across there, that is the waterworks, or the waterboard if you like. So that was built for that. As I was just mentioning about the sewerage and that, and the diseases that it caused, even though they all have them improvements. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so I've come off Doughty Road now. I'm walking down this lane. This is the track bed of the Grimsby to North Railway, or part of it, before it turns and heads in that direction up now what is Peaks Parkway. Right, so in there is the electrical substation. Now, we used to have cooling towers, which is part of a little power station what was around Grimsby. I think most towns did have them, but they have all sadly disappeared. Okay, and in that direction over there where the DIY store is, I think you might know what that might be. In that area, Pasture Street, Bowling Green Lane, etc., Sheepfold, that's where the gas was. They had gasometers, them that rise up and down when they fill them up. But yeah, they was in that direction. So, and also in this area was full of railways because of the coal, and everything was round here. There was good sheds in that area where the camera's pointing now. Also in this area, totally full of railway tracks round here, transporting goods all over. But that's later on in the story. Obviously we're getting into the 19th century there. Okay, so I'm now down Sheepfold Street, which is down there. I think I said lane just then. But in there, where B&Q is, that used to be Tickler's Jam. And all in this area, as I was saying before, was old railways, goods sheds, etc. There was everywhere. And also the railways ran down here too. And the gas I mentioned, I will show you where that was when I walk up to it. But you can imagine all this area though, absolutely full of industry, basically, all the way around here. Okay, so I'm still on Sheepfold Street. Right, the population of Grimsby was 75,000 in 1901. It grew to 92,000 by 1931. And the population levelled off, hardly grew at all in the 20th century. The first public library in Grimsby was opened in 1900. I'll do some more on that later on this video. Then in 1901, Grimsby gained electric street lights. Well, we've just shown you there where the electricity is, and the horse-drawn trams were replaced with the electrical ones, which was the system for quite a long time around Grimsby. Also the one that went from Grimsby to Immingham, that was electric as well. Okay, they then was replaced by buses in 1937. So there you go, a bit more of that. Just a little point out down here. I know some of you like these sort of things. Look at the old cobbles there, showing that this is original. Okay, so I'm now still on the River Ed. This used to be an hive of activity back in the early 19th and 18th centuries. See the barge there, and across there, that used to be the peanut oil factory. So boats used to come up here from over there, obviously off the Humber, come up here and offload the goods. But all round here was all industry, everywhere. Okay, so I'm now on Abbey Walk, and this building in front of me, as it says up there, is called the Osborne Chambers. Yes, now you can see what it is. It was built in AD 1924, so this has been here a long time as well. Abbey Walk. Okay, during the war, there were many air raids in Grimsby, and 197 people were killed during that. Not very good. During the 20th century, industries in Grimsby, including fishing and food processing, an ice factory was built in the 1900s. However, fishing in Grimsby has declined sharply since its heyday in the 20th century. Okay, so however, some new industries came to Grimsby in the late 20th century, such as light engineering, chemicals and plastics. Okay, and the Freshney Place Shopping Centre opened in 1968 as the River Head Centre. The Abbey Gates, which I'll go walk down shortly, shopping centre, was opened in 1985. The Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre, which I have done a video on, opened in 1991. So today Grimsby is and remains an important shopping centre for in the local area, and in 2022, not long ago, the population of Grimsby was 86,000. So that's quite a lot of people living here at this moment. But now we have a train coming past. Just before I tell you what I was going to tell you, that's going to Liverpool Lime Street, I believe. So I'm stood on Gardner Street level crossing at the moment. There we go. Going into the station. Okay, so the trains came here in 1848 and they only ran the same way as that train has just gone, in that direction first off. And then later, and I think it was 1853, they built a track to Cleethorpes. But also in 1848, the track went that way and went to Louth, which I have covered. And the first train that ran to Louth was just like a test train, if you like, was run in 1847. So there you go, as you can see over there, where the camera's pointing is roughly where it went. It's over that direction there. But all this, again, was covered in railway tracks, as I have mentioned further on the video. Okay, let's move on. So I'm now stood in front of Abbeygates, which used to be the Tower Brewery. Okay, and all these shops and that opened in 1985. I remember that happening too, but yeah, all through here was the Tower Brewery. Some of these are still original, but others are probably not. I would say this one here looks like it is. Okay, let's have a walk round. Right, so I'm walking to Abbeygates now. As you can see up there, where that lamp is, look, sticking out there. This looks like it's an original part of it as well. And this side is the one the same. They'll have pulleys on them. You can see the old windows up there above. I'll walk a bit further this way, and I'll keep the camera pointing upwards so you can actually see them. That's part of the brewery. Okay, I'm walking back out now onto Bethlehem Street, and this is the original way in, which is still there. And if I come down here, you can see the stones there. Look, if anything carts knocked them, they wouldn't break the walls down. This shop behind me, they used to sell some of their goods from there, come out of Abbeygates, okay? Right, so I'm stood on the side of the station now, which is over there. And all these buildings here are very old. Some of these windows are blocked in, look. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you see a window that's filled in on an old building, there used to be a thing called a window tax. So that's what they did, they bricked them up so they didn't have to pay as much or hardly any, which is, yeah, it's a bad idea at the time, but yeah, a bit like we don't like paying the poll tax at the moment, but that's what that was. You ever see a window like that that's bricked up, that's old, it's because of the window tax. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now come off at Briggergate, okay, which is in front of me there. We're down the side of the bus station. Okay, and round here was the cattle market, and the cattle got on the trains roughly in this area there. Just thought of putting it out while we was down here. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I moved around the other side now, and this was the site of the old bus station just in there. As you see, it's all been made into offices and things now. This building behind me is now a taxi place. As you can see from up there, used to be public toilets. Look at that. I think the ladies' one's around the other side. We've still got its original cobbles around here as well. So I've come round the other side now, where the toilets and the bus station were situated, and we'll come to this building. Now, you used to go in there, I think it was Appleby's. Yeah, it was Appleby's Travel. You used to go there and book your ferry across from Hull to Zeebrugge and wherever else it went, and anywhere else you were going as well. Well, that used to be a booking office through there. And this used to be where the Jaguar cars and the Wolves is, I believe. I'm not a car man, but I do know this was a garage. And it used to go up a slope, and which is round this corner here. I shall come to it shortly. The cars used to go up there. You see, some of the slope is still there now, but obviously made it into steps because I think there's flats up there as well. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so I've now come a bit further down Briggergate now, and this building behind me was built in 1913. It's been a few things. It was a workhouse, it's been a school and a Salvation Army in its past, but it's still here. I think it's been recently renovated as well. I don't know what it's going to be now, not entirely sure, but it's a really big old building, as you can see. Okay, let's go on to the next building down here. Okay, so I'm now at well, I'm halfway down Briggergate now, and behind me is the other police station I was telling you about. Yeah, this is the county police station. Okay, it's now something else, obviously. Let's just put through that. Look at these old doors there, look. Magnificent. Okay, let's move on. Okay, as you can see under there is part of the stone bridge across the Avon. Now, they mentioned in the previous it was a wooden one. Okay. Okay, so I'm now down Sheepfold Street. Now we're coming up to where the gasworks was, which was through all here. Okay, in this area here, this is where the gasworks was. There's obviously been many things these have here, but yeah, this is where it stood, in this area. Okay, so I now stood on Bowling Green Lane. Now, over this way, or down there, Pasture Street, which is in front of us, or down there, there was a manor house. This is called Sheepfold Street, so it's probably had sheep and that grazing in this very area as well. Okay, so I'm going to go a bit further down there to roughly where this manor house was. Okay, so I'm now stood down Robinson Street East. Obviously seen this building before in many videos I've done, the Great Grimsby Coal Salt and Tanning Company, but in this area was that manor house I was saying. It was in this very area here, and I think some of it went down there as well. In 1201, Grimsby was given a charter by King John. A charter was a document granting the townspeople to certain rights. From then on, Grimsby had its own court and its own government by 1218. Okay, Grimsby had a mayor as well, and a medieval Grimsby was a fair size, perhaps 1,500 to 2,000 inhabitants at this time. It would have seemed tiny, to us, but towns were very small in them days. Medieval Grimsby did not have a town wall, as it was surrounded by marshland, as we now know the East and West Marsh. That's why there was no wall, 'cause it would be hard to get through if you're trying to attack, I would have thought. However, the town did have a ditch, which would stop them from coming in as well. The town streets were named Gate, as in Carter Gate, Dean's Gate, etc. Gate is a word used in Danish. It means street. Okay, so that's why obviously the Vikings are there, so everything was gate this, gate that, as you know. So during the 16th century and the 17th, Grimsby continued to decline in the population fall, dwindled to bring a little more than a large village with a market, thus the marketplace, which is a bullring area. However, imports of coal grew steadily. More imports came in as well. Grain from the surrounding countryside, Lincolnshire, loads of farms. There's a farm not far from here called Intax, and probably this area where I am now was probably farmed as well, mostly. So in 1556, the wooden bridge over the Avon was replaced with a stone one now. Okay, so once again, Grimsby suffered from an outbreak of the plague, which I mentioned some of the plagues and things that happened later from the date on here. There was a severe outbreak in 1590 to 91 of the plague. I believe that, I don't think it's the Black Death or something like that. I think that's maybe what that refers to, but yeah, yet another thing to deal with. Okay, so in 1538, King Henry VIII closed the two friaries in Grimsby, and the nunnery and the priory followed in 1539. So he closed all them down. That's very famous, Henry VIII killing all the monasteries and everything like that. I think most of you might know that from your school days. Okay, so later in the 18th century, Grimsby revered a little and a new town hall, which was built in 1780. Then in 1796, an Act of Parliament was formed, a body of men who set about building the new quays and deepening the Avon. I think I mentioned that before. And after the Avon got reclaimed again for something else, they did the fish docks, Alexandra docks, which I've mentioned further upon this video. Okay, I'll just come off Abbey Road and I'm now on Abbey Drive East. Okay, so in this area, as you can see, the names of the streets, Abbeys. Yeah, so this is the area where the Abbey was, and there was a mansion built on it afterwards when it was demolished. Okay, so in 1132, the Augustine Abbey was founded at Grimsby, and in 1184, the nunnery dedicated to St Leonard was founded. By the 13th century, there was also a leper hospital in Grimsby, which ran by the church. Now that is in where the wheat sheaf are, in that area. Okay, across the road from where the wheat sheaf is, roughly that's where the leper hospital was. Okay, so also in the 13th century, the friars arrived in Grimsby, the friary, which is for the monks. Now in there is a plaque inside Freshney Place saying where they found a body of a monk and he's now buried in Scaffer ceremony. So that's basically where that was. Okay, instead of the withdrawing from the world, they went out to preach. The Franciscan friars, called the Grey Friars, because they had grey costumes, arrived in Grimsby in 1240. The Austin or the White Friars arrived in Grimsby in 1293. So there you go. So all this area here where I am, through all there, and a bit further up this road is where the Abbey was. And it is, it does go up as well. So it's on a, would have been on a hill, so you would have seen it for miles. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so just coming to the railway bridge on Doughty Road. I think I might have shown this before. Well, these are bullet holes from a Messerschmitt back in World War II, and on there it tells you all about it. If you want to come down here and have a look, that's what it tells you there about the railway bridge. You can see the cooling towers on one of them pictures I did mention before on there, and the peppercorn crossing, which I've done videos on. But yeah, that's it's before they replaced that one up there. They actually saved this bit, which is really great. So there, that's what that is. Okay, I'm on Doughty Road, and it just tells you everything about these houses just here. Laid by, what's it? There you go. It tells you all about it on there. If you want to pause it and read it, you can. I'll go to the other one as well. As another one down here. Okay, so I'm now outside the library on Town Hall Square, and Doughty Road is in behind the camera. Okay, so the first library came to Grimsby in the 1900s. Now, I'm trying to find its location, and when I find it, I will put it on this. Okay, and behind me is the current library, which was built between 1966 and 1968. Okay, we're going to have a look around the other side because there's various plaques. So let's go around the corner. Right, so I'm round the front now, or the entrance. It tells you about the seal, which I've probably shown before, which is this. Planted in the 13th century. It's big, isn't it? Let's see if I can, there it is. Now around here, here's the stone that was laid. So you can see there all the details on it. It's a bit hard to see. What I'll do is I'll put my light on it. There we go. Okay, so I'm now down Briggergate again. Okay, before all this was here, which I mentioned further back on the video, this was all farmland. There was also farmland behind me as well, because where there's some houses been built, it's called the Orchard. So I'm assuming in this area there may have been farming fruit. No idea if that's right or not, but yeah, there's definitely farms all around here. So let's go. Okay, just like the cottages round the corner down Wellergate, this was built in 1781, the same period, Georgian, as I'm showing you there. Okay, and there's quite a few of these. If we go further down, we're coming surely up to one that's a black-brown colour, and it had an Indian outside because it was a tobacconist. Does any of you remember that one? I think I was still there in the 80s. Here it is, just coming up now. Okay, so on that note, let's get on with the video. So behind me is the waterworks I've just shown you further up on this video. If I line this up right, there it is. Okay, so when I was digging around here recently, which is somewhere down in this area, I think you might have all seen it, they found an old Victorian pump room, and I believe they left it intact as well, which is really good. Now I'm going to go around the corner here onto New Street and tell you about something else. Behind me in these buildings, in these here, and in one of these there was actually a flowing river. Okay, sort of a river, probably came from the River Ed, which is in that direction there, and it was in one of these and went underneath. Okay, so it must have flowed somewhere that way. Oh look, there's one of these. I always find these interesting, the old foot scrapers. There's not many of these around. Okay, so back onto the water now. There was many pumps around Grimsby, water pumps. I think there was 12. I did a video on it in various locations, and I believe there was one down this street as well. But like I was saying, the water was that contaminated back then, and you know, the only way to get a drink really without getting poisoned or whatever or ill was to go to the pub, which I did a video on. I did mention that back on this video. I think it was 132 I counted in the end. Okay, so let's move on. Right, so I'm now in Cleethorpes Cemetery, and behind me you see that tree there. This is the Bronze Age barrow. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, they said it could be a lot earlier than that, the Stone Age, early Stone Age. But yeah, you can see they have done excavations around here. So, well, this is it, yeah. And this would be just like the works. This is like the picture I've got of with a tree on it like that. Only that's not a Bronze Age barrow, that's just a hill. But yeah, if I'm going to walk all the way around it, it's quite big. It's nicely kept though, they haven't ruined it, which is brilliant. There's no doubt this will be listed as an ancient monument, which it is. Okay, so I'm now stood next to a field. Behind me there, this is Old Clee. Okay, and there's a farm through there. This is one of the oldest areas. The church we'll go and have a look at shortly, but yeah, as you can see all the lumps and bumps, look, I don't know if the camera's picking them up, but very ancient area, all farm. Okay, let's move around the corner and have a look at the church. Okay, so I'm now stood at the gates to Old Clee Church, which is through there. Okay, so I'm going to show you the information board. It tells you everything about this and how long it's been here. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so behind me is the board there. It tells you everything. And it says that the tower on this dated, a Saxon tower, dates from 1050 AD, very early. And you see a bit further down, it tells you, just move that out of the way a second. Here you go. It tells you the rest of it as well. There you go. Right, let's have a further look. As you can see from the dates on that notice board around there, it is very old. Very, very old settlement round here. Right, I moved a little bit further around. Now, this is a better view, so yeah, you can see through there some of the old gravestones in the church. Right, so this is the tower. Okay, which part of this dates to 1050, like it said around there. This cottage has been recently renovated. This is old as well. I don't know how old, but I would say quite a long time ago. Most of them are around here though. A lot of them are listed too. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so I've now come off Wheelsby Avenue and I'm in this field. Okay, the school over there, Wintringham, over there where the trees are and the cars are parked, that is the cemetery. Over there's the Peak Parkway, formerly the Grimsby Railway, which I keep mentioning a lot. Now the reason why I'm in this field, this is where they did an archaeological dig a while back now around this area, and they found an Iron Age site. Okay, as I think mentioned earlier on this video. Okay, so this is where the Iron Age site was. Okay, so I'm now at the side of Victoria Street South, okay, off Middle Court Road. Now in this area where I'm stood, over that way there, one of them buildings, that's the Royal Oak, and it's still there. I did that on one of the pub videos. Okay, so where I am now is in a car park, okay, and in this car park there was, in 1834, the first county police station, and it was here where the camera's pointing now. Okay, and also in this car park was the Mechanics Institute, which later became the library, and it's all in this area here. Okay, and you've also got a pub a little bit further in the direction where the camera's pointed, and that was called the Golden Fleece. Okay, so this area here, where I am, this is where it all was. Obviously now you can see it's a car park, and up that way is Victoria Street South. So this is where they all was. This is where the first library was and the first police station. Now I'm assuming that that police station looked like the one down Briggergate, which is further back on this video. I would be assuming it was built at the same time. Can't be certain, but maybe. Okay, so let's move on. Right, okay, so we've come to the end of another video there. I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'd like to thank all my new subscribers to the channel. Welcome, and all of you watching my content, I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that subscriber button and the notification bell, which tells you when I put a new video on. So on that note, I will see you all next time on the next video. Bye for now.